Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. Today's video I'm anticipating is going to be a little bit shorter than usual because my left ear is completely blocked up and I can hear pretty much nothing out of it other than a high-pitched ringing. So it's not very comfortable for me to be doing too much talking right now. But what I did want to share with you today is just this one question that I've really been pondering for a while. Can we talk about our obsession with curriculum? I think it's safe to say that a good portion of homeschooling parents are completely obsessed with curriculum. And I'm not talking about getting excited over what you're going to use the next year or how you're going to cover history. I'm talking about how so many of us feel like it's absolutely necessary to buy a curriculum for every single thing there is to learn in life. And the reason that I started thinking about this a while ago was because I was at Barnes and Noble and I found a workbook there that was completely on helping your child learn to cut with scissors. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it just be easier to give your child a pair of safety scissors and some paper and just let them play around with it? But no, apparently there are a lot of people who do things like this. And I have actually seen homeschooling lessons in certain curriculums that are geared towards helping kids cut with scissors. And, so I just started contemplating all of the different things that we homeschool parents really do seem to make much harder than they have to be. Like, instead of just cooking with our kids, a lot of times we will be out there looking for cooking curriculum. I have seen curriculum out there that is actually to teach your kids to use utensils properly. And, so many people have come to me asking me for questions on curriculum that we use to teach kids the birds and the bees. And, even when it comes down to curriculum to teach reading or to teach letters, none of these things for generations, a curriculum wasn't even conceived of in these aspects. For so many centuries, I'm trying to find the right word, but for so many centuries, parents taught their children these things simply by living life beside them and doing things with them. And, I think that we have lost that, even when it comes to reading. I can't say that I don't do any of these things. I use a reading curriculum with my kids and I use a phonics curriculum with my kids, and that helps them to learn how to form their letters and everything. But if you think about it, years before compulsory schooling was a thing, parents used to teach their kids at home many times through the Bible, sometimes just through other books that they had in their house. They didn't have curriculums. They simply learned by being patient with their kids and spending time with them, reading to them a lot, and just teaching them the letter sounds, how to sound things out. A lot of times their kids would just copy things, and it was so much more natural than what we make things out to be nowadays. And actually, if you look at that method of reading, it was much more successful than the whole curriculum method that we have now. The literacy rate was higher back then than it is now, and that should tell us something. And the thing is that we have lost our ability to teach by nature almost, because we have this whole notion that curriculum is everything, especially as homeschooling parents. This is one of those things that I really think that we homeschooling parents have a way bigger problem with this than parents who might have their kids in public or private school do. Because, if a parent in public or private school decides that they want to teach their kids how to cook, they will very likely just take them out into the kitchen and teach them how to cook. Or if they decide that they're going to talk to them about the birds and the bees, they will just talk to them about the birds and the bees. And, same thing with cutting with scissors. They likely will not go out there and buy a workbook to teach it. They'll just teach their kids to cut with scissors. And it's funny that, even though that whole public school mentality is ingrained in a lot of parents too. I think that it comes out a lot more in those of us who are homeschooling our kids sometimes, because we are the ones educating our kids, and we look at ourselves as having the role of teacher. And yeah, we have that technocratic way of thinking, whether we want to admit it or not, where we just seem to think that experts need to run everything, and experts are the ones that you need to ask about how to do every little thing. And if you can't get an expert into your house somehow, or if you can't take your kids to an expert, well, what better way than to bringing an expert into your home without them being there physically than by buying a curriculum that was written by an expert? And we complicate things so much, and it's sad because these curriculums very often they take the humanity out of learning. They take away so many of the connections. There's a huge difference, using a cooking curriculum with your kids, and following it lesson by lesson, rather than just taking your kids into the kitchen with you every day and teaching them everything that you know, or letting them bake with you, and, just doing things in a natural way that parents did for so long before curriculum was even a thing. And that goes without saying with so many other things that I talked about. We don't need to turn everything in our lives into a homeschool lesson. And you know what? In order for it to be a homeschool lesson, you don't even need curriculum for that to happen. But I think that we need to start, it makes things so much more formal, and we need to take that formality out of learning with our kids, because yeah, we're teaching our kids, but we are still their parents, and there is so much more of a connection when you have that child parent or child mentor relationship than when you have a child who is being rigidly taught out of a book what they should be doing, when it's something that very, very likely could have just been taught just because the parent or the adult knows how to do it naturally. We as parents, we as homeschooling parents especially, we need to learn to trust our instincts, and we need to go back and we need to think about how we learned all of these things. Because even though we also generally have been in the traditional school setting, I'm going to say the vast majority of people who watch this have been in the traditional school setting, even we didn't learn things so rigidly like it seems to be things are being presented nowadays. You don't need a curriculum for your child to learn how to cut with scissors. You don't need a curriculum to teach your kids how to use their utensils. You don't need a curriculum for teaching your kids about the birds and the bees. And you don't need a curriculum to cook with your kids. If you want your kids to learn to do these things, just do them with them. Just do them beside them, and think of yourselves at that moment as the parent, because that is the part that is going to bring the two of you together, or if there's more kids, then I should say all of you together. And those are the memories, and those are the skills that are likely to stick with your kids the most. Anyway, that's all that I have for you today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave one over on Instagram, because YouTube always disables my comments. And if you like my work and would like to check out my Patreon page, I will leave a link in the description box for that as well. And today I want to give a shout out to my Patreon patron, Connor. Thank you so much for supporting me. You have been doing this for quite some time now, and I really, really appreciate the encouragement and just knowing that other people are there for me every step of the way. And I hope you all have a great day.